My name is Jessica Drum, and I am the Public Affairs Director for the City of Flagstaff. And welcome to another episode of the Recovery Roundtable. Today, I have a very special guest who I'll let introduce herself in just a moment, but we're going to be talking about the census today. And you may ask yourself, why are we talking about the census in July? And that is a very good question. So Sarah and I will be able to give you some more information about current state of the census and why it still matters so much for the city of Flagstaff and Coconino County. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Thanks, Jessica. Yes, I'm Sarah Dector. My job title is Comprehensive Planning Manager for the city. One of those responsibilities I do under that job is to be the census coordinator for the city. I work on the census actually every year. I help get group quarters counts and census information to different departments and organizations in the city. And I also coordinate with the state demographer. But right now is the big part of that job, which is actually getting everyone to fill out their census in the city of Flagstaff and Coconino County. I wish I could say that it was going just as well, if not better, than 2010, but clearly there are a lot of things that have been different about the last 6 months than we expected. In fact, the census form is online for the first time ever this year, which is great. It's convenient. It just happened that the website went live 1 week before we all went into self-isolation and quarantine. So a lot of people, I think, missed getting their letter in the mail or getting their notice about the census because we were suddenly all really anxious and worried about what was happening with COVID-19 and what it meant, getting ourselves educated on this very important public health issue that's going on. But that's exactly the reason why we're still talking about the census and kind of bringing it up again. There's good news and bad news to that. The bad news was that from April 16th to the end of May, the census operations were on pause. And they were waiting for things to calm down, be safe, have enough PPE for their employees, get everybody retrained because their field operations had to look different. And then they restarted the census outreach. So right about now, everyone in Coconino County should have gotten one of two things. They should have gotten a letter in the mail. If you get your mail at your house, you got a letter that looks like this. You'll see I blocked out my information, but this is my letter from the census. And if you live somewhere where you don't get your mail at home, maybe you go to a P.O. box or you drive to the post office and have a box that's tied to your address, then you should have gotten a door hanger. And so now everyone in Coconino County finally in July has all of their materials they need to participate in the 2020 census.
And Sarah, if someone has not received either a mailer or a door hanger, but they still want to fill out their census, because of course everyone definitely wants to fill out their census and you need to, what should they do?
So there's two ways you could go about it. First, starting August 11th, the enumerators are actually going to, which is what you call somebody who works for the census, are actually going to start knocking on doors of people who haven't responded. So one thing you can do is just wait until August, because in August there will be somebody who will come to your house and say, hey, we didn't hear from you. I'm with the Census Bureau. One of the important things to know is how to, I think, identify a census taker. A census taker who knocks on your door is going to have 3 items that are marked U.S. Census on their person. They're going to have a badge. They're going to have a bag that says U.S. Census, like a black bag. You can find a picture of it online if you would like to see. And then they'll have a tablet, and the back of the tablet will be marked U.S. Census, and it will have some property information on it. So if someone shows up at your door with those 3 things, you should spend a few minutes and talk to them, because they are trying to help you check the box, do your constitutional duty once every 10 years, and fill out your census.
So Sarah, we know the census got delayed a bit. Can you tell us a little bit about where the city and the county currently stand in our response rates? And then also, why does the census matter?
So I think that it's important to know we were really trying to be prepared for the 2020 census in Coconino County. We did more to get ready this year than we ever probably had. Unfortunately, because of COVID and because of this 6-week operational pause, in July, we are behind from where we were before. In 2010, the Coconino County response rate for self-response, that means you got this letter, you got the door hanger, and you responded to the census, was about 61%. In 2020, the county level is still below 40%. So there really are a lot of people in our community that still need to fill out the census. A special population within that is students at NAU. And so students at NAU, went home after spring break, and so they may not have gotten all the messaging about the census that they need. So we are working with NAU to keep reaching out to students and alumni who were here in the spring of 2020 so that they correct their census information and get counted where they were living at the time. They are also going to be working on the city of Flagstaff overall. Flagstaff's doing better than the rest of Coconino County. We're at about 54% self-response. But there's several areas of Flagstaff where our response rates are pretty low still. So let me look at my list. The communities that are connected to the Route 66 corridor, west of Woodlands Village Boulevard, the Pine Knoll and Brandon neighborhood, Bow and Arrow neighborhood, south of I-40 along Lake Mary Road, the south portion of the Sunnyside neighborhood, and also Country Club are all very low in terms of their response to the census. So if you are watching this and you live in one of those areas and you see your neighbors outside watering their plants or checking the mail or walking their dog, it'd be greatly appreciated if you ask them and say, hey, did you know we still have time to fill out our census? Could you maybe go fill it out? Because those neighborhoods are really key for a lot of services that we provide. And so what's at stake in the census in Flagstaff is two things. Really, one is political representation, and that's because the state uses our census numbers to reapportion the House of Representatives and to redraw the district boundaries. So that's a really important reason that the census matters in terms of Flagstaff for representation. And the second piece is money. For each person we count in the US Census in Arizona, there's $3,000 of federal funding that comes to the state. So when we don't count everyone, we're not getting our fair share of these federal apportionments, and that includes things like Medicare, Medicaid, school lunch programs. The USDA has a program for adults and children in childcare that makes sure they get nutritious meals. We know how important that is, and we also know in Flagstaff how much the need for those services have increased since COVID-19 started. They're also used for small business loans and calculating how those should be distributed across the country. So our small businesses are counting on you to fill out your census so that they're acknowledging what is going on in Flagstaff, and those businesses can be eligible for loans that they need. So those are some of the big things that we care about with the census, but there's a lot more to it. I mean, there's 316 federal programs that rely on the census to distribute money to our communities. So we could go on and on about it.
There's a long, long list, but I think at the end of the day, the takeaways are fill out your census, fill out your census. If you know someone that hasn't filled out their census, tell them to fill out their census and fill out your census. There's so much writing on the census, an accurate and complete count for our community, and we will. So the good news is that we have several more months because the census the deadline was extended. So that means that everyone watching this gets several more months of listening to Sarah, myself, and a wide range of other folks from the city and county level begging you to please fill out your census. There's just a lot riding on it for our community. I know we're not the first people to tell you that, to talk about the current state of the economy or the fact that Flagstaff's economy is going to be and is significantly impacted by COVID-19. This is a way that you can help your overall community to ensure that we are receiving all of the federal dollars that are appropriate for our community based on the count. And the only way we can do that is to fill out your census. So, Sarah,
So
are there any other
till October 31st. That's the cutoff date.
Okay.
So October 31st is the last day that you can fill out your census, and that's a huge 3-month extension from, we were supposed to be done July 31st. So everybody got a extension and you still have time.
Fill out your census. And as a reminder, you can always submit a question for a future Recovery Roundtable to recoveryroundtable@flagstaffaz.gov. And thank you so much, Sarah, for taking the time today to join me and to talk about the importance. And in closing, fill out your census.
Fill out your census.